Hello everybody, it's your metal half of the day, and we are here for another tutorial of sorts. So let's get started by making a new application, and let's title it Item Wheel Tut, because that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be making an item wheel similar to that found in the Wayback or Princess Light, because somebody asked for it. So let's immediately make a nice save file here, and yeah, we'll get started. So first thing to do, let's get right into it, because this could take a while, simply stated. So first thing we do, actually, well, I should show this. Let's title this first, Item Wheel Center. This is going to be the center of your wheel, and it needs a number of values, 5 in fact. First one is angle. Now you can't actually spell it like this, because that'll happen. It's because it's the same name as one of the actual variables found in the program, the angle of objects. So if you use it, it'll screw everything up. So I just leave off the E and it's just angle. Next value is angle to B, or if you want to spell it properly, angle to B. And you'll get more info on these as we go along. Third value is item ID. Fourth value is radius. We're going to immediately set that to be 48. Last value is item num, and we're immediately going to set that to 6. Alright, we're already making progress. So how are you guys doing today? I hope you're good. I wish you could respond so I could actually hear, what's going on with you. As for me, it is cold and rainy where I am. Actually, it's not rainy today. It's actually pretty sunny. But winter is almost upon us where I live, so, it's kind of getting depressing. Alright, so we have that, and make sure you remember to set the hotspot and action point to the middle, because this is important in this case. Alright, now we made a new item. Sorry if I'm blasting through this, but you should be able to keep up with all the naming and stuff. It's not very intense right now. So this is going to be an item wheel item. An item on the item wheel. This also needs 2 values. First one is ID. Whoops. ID, both capital, because I am obsessive about that. Not really, but item, and then item image. Let's call it that. Now, here's where the fun begins. We get to go in here, set the hotspot and action point to the middle again, and we get to draw some items that you might have in the game. So think of whichever game you have, and think, what kind of items would my game have? Maybe a potion like this. Really bad. I'm not going to be spending any time drawing on these. Actually, the first frame you want is going to be something like that. And make sure it's in the middle. Yeah, just dot, nothing important. Just, put it there. And you'll see why in a little bit. And then just draw any amount of random items. That's supposed to be a sword, but it's not really looking all that sword-like, is it? Also, it's not centered. So you might have noticed that I sound back to my tin can version of sound quality. That's because the microphone that I was borrowing, I gave it back for now, although I may be re-attaining it soon. So if I sound bad, that's why. I said I wasn't going to be spending any time on these, and now I'm going and refining them and stuff, like a person. We need 7 of these, so bear with me. Yeah, that's an item. That's an item. I'm not going to argue it. That's an item. So is this flower. Flowers are an item. Okay. Man, why am I so bent on refining these darn things? Just force a habit. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's just have a purple orb. Every game needs a purple orb as an item. Make it shiny. Set the hotspot back to the middle because I moved it back there. And one more. Just one more. Should be easy. Let's, there. Whoa, I thought that was going to be a flame, but now it looks like a wolf's head. Well, that's pretty cool. By cool, I mean really weird. Alright, so now we're done there. And we're going to take this, if I can click on it, and we're going to hold control and drag and create 7 of them. That's 6, I think. Yes, and that's 7. Alright, and we need one more item. Just one, I promise. Just one. And with these 3 types of items, you can actually create the whole weapon wheel. Alright, so we just made an array, and we're going to go in here, and these are the changes you need to make immediately. For this tutorial, at least. Set Y dimension to 1, change it to number array, and uncheck base 1 index, and save. Make sure to save often. Alright, now we get to the code, and really the most of the difficulty in the code is in one equation, which we're going to do very soon. So start a frame. First thing we do is spread value, 0 and ID, making each of these have an individual ID code. First one will have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it'll be 1 through 6, or 0 through 6, sorry. And we're also going to start off by saying always animation, change this thing's animation frame. We're going to go into this array and read a value out of its X position. And the value, or the position that we're going to read it out of, is the corresponding ID of these things. So what we just did, just to real quickly explain, I think I already did this in a previous video, but we'll just do it here. So if the value of the thing is 0, let's say, and this is like the array, it'll go into the X value and read, okay, 0. And whichever value is read in there, which might be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, it's going to read out of that and change the thing's animation to that value. If it's 2, it's going to be 0, 1, 2. Whoops. And it's going to read into there and get the value out of there and change the animation frame to whichever item corresponds. This is only one way of doing that. You can make it so that each of these is an individual object in itself and has a name, and you can use a text array to assign the animations and such too. But this is the way I'm doing it just for simplicity's sake. Okay, so always, and here's where it gets hard. Alright, so pay really close attention, do exactly what I do. I'm going to set that thing's X position to the X position of the center, get rid of that 0 there, plus, and to click cosine, while that's highlighted, immediately go into retrieve data from object, get this thing's angle of the center, and we're going to put a beginning parenthesis there, alright? And we're going to do plus this thing's ID and put a beginning parenthesis there. That thing's ID times times 360 divided by this thing's item num and parenthesis and parenthesis. Alright, did you get that? Yeah, that was pretty rough. And I hope I did all of that right. I'm pretty sure I did. Okay, and just at the end there, we're just going to do add times radius. Alright? So if we go out here, we should see a whole bunch of crazy looking stuff. You know what? That'll be fixed in just a second here. Because now we got to do it again for the Y value. So again, do exactly what I do. Set that thing's Y position to this thing's Y position plus sine this time, and immediately go in here and get angle, and we're going to do the same thing. Beginning parenthesis plus value ID times beginning parenthesis between these two times 360 divided by item num, and two end parentheses. And you click OK and it doesn't work. Well, I don't know why that is. It's because I added too many parentheses somewhere along the way. Let's check it. Oh, see, I didn't need one in between the 360. I did it wrong, I'm sorry. But I will admit mistake and delete those and it'll be good. And then we just add the same thing times radius. Alright, I know what you're thinking. What the heck did I just do, and why did it suddenly just work out like that? Well, what we did is we went in here and we set it to the cosine of that thing's angle, just a circle equation. And then we're setting the angle of the item object to the ID, its own ID. So if its ID is 5, let's say, you can say 5 times 360 divided by the item num. So in this case there are 6 items, so if we plug in 5 for the ID, and 360 divided by 6 is 60, 5 times 60 is 300. If the ID is 4, it would be 4 times 60, that would be 240. If it's 3, it would be 3 times 60, 180. And it spreads all of them out and does what you see when you run it. Alright, I'll say that right now, that was the majority of the difficulty, so it's easy street from here on out now. So, add another always, set this thing's angle to be to its item ID times, I'm pretty sure it's times 360 divided by item num, and you're going to be seeing that a lot through this, so get used to that, 360 divided by item num. Alright, and also another event, actually, let's start a frame, let's make things interesting here. We're just going to write some random values to the places in the X index to give us some items. So third item, I don't know what it was, but I'm going to write 3 in slot 2. And I'm going to leave some of them empty so you can see what I did there. 6 to slot 4. Did I already use 4? No, I need to use 3. 7 to 3. Alright. So I just put some random values in the IDs. And there you go. We have items. The only problem is we can't rotate the wheel yet. However, we can see the fruits of our labor. We have a wolf's head and a sword and all that. And for the sake of this tutorial, let me add one thing real quick here. Whoa! Forgot I had that on 4 pixels. I usually just make an arrow pointing to the right to show which one is selected. I'm going to do that here. You can use whichever method you want. You can make it select which one's on top. But in this case, I'm going to make it select what's on the right. Okay. So here we go. More values, or more events. Hope you're following along okay. We've been at this for, wow, a little over 10 minutes. But this should be easy. So when this is, when the angle is greater than the angle to be, let's not do anything yet. Let's copy it over and do lower. Let's also do an event saying when you've moved right and when you've moved left. And we're going to make it so, actually no, let's not do that yet. I have a plan. I have a plan which you will surely get to know about. Did I mention my mic already? Yeah, I did. So that's why I sound all funny, because I'm yelling right now and bunch of trouble. So, alright, moved right, simple. Let's just add 1 to item ID. I added 0 for some reason. Well, that's not going to do anything, is it, Meadow Hair? And when we move left, it's going to subtract 1 from the item ID. And I'll try to explain all this stuff after we're more or less done here. Okay, and let's, when the angle is greater than angle to B, let's subtract 1 from angle. And let's add 1 to angle when it's lower than the angle to B. Alright, let's see how that works. You're going to hit right. It rotates very slowly to the next one. Hit right again. Rotates, rotates. Alright. It's already working, but it rotates awfully slowly. So let's do add 3. And that'll speed things up a bit. Alright. Yeah, it rotates extra fast now. Thing is, if I push it twice, you can like rotate all the way to another item. And you can kind of skip them, which could be trouble, and you could get confused, and oh boy. So, let's make it so you can only move right when the angle is equal to the angle to B. That means when the angle has shifted all the way to the angle it's trying to work its way toward, then you can move it again. And this keeps it from, skipping. That can be annoying. If you want it to skip, then you just take off that event, and there you go. Alright, now let's do something a little different here. Let's go in here and change this to 4. Just change item num to 4 and see what happens. Alright, we have 4 items. Problem is, some of them, since there's actually 7 different objects, some of them are kind of piled up at 1 there, or the 0, the 1 slot. So we're going to have to fix that. What we're going to have to do is say when this thing's ID is greater or equal to the item num, the number of items, we're going to destroy it. Whoops, not the center, but the item itself. Alright, and what that did is whenever the item's ID is greater than the item number, it'll just destroy it. So you can even, what I like about this system is you can even go down to 2, and it'll just switch right in between those 2. Or you can go to even 1. If 1 item, it'll just switch it all the way around. Problem with this is, when you switch it, it takes a really long time if you have 1 item. Well, we can fix that by changing these. And also the other problem is it switches really fast, like the speed changes depending on how many items you have. We want that to be consistent, or at least I do. If you don't want it to be consistent, then just, enter your own values here. But I do, so I'm going to say, going to add to, add to the angle. Sorry about that. Let's do this. I told you were going to be seeing this a lot. 360 divided by item num times 0.5. Now you're probably thinking, what the heck is that? Metal here, could this get any more complicated? The answer is no. No, it couldn't. But what I just did there is I took the, whoa! Well, that's not what I want to happen. I think well, let's just try this. Let's just try that. Darn it. Well, that's not that's not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to work. Well, it's because I switched them. Alright, yeah, just switch those. Okay. So, yeah, I just added it and subtracted it in the wrong place. So, yeah, I was right, just misinformed. So, let's go back to 0.5. What this does is it makes it switch obnoxiously quickly. What I'm doing is taking the angle of all these things, the angle distance between the 2 items, which if I switch it back to 6, since it's an easy number, it'll be 60 degrees between there. Because remember, 360 divided by item num, if item num is 6, then it's 60, and then we're even dividing that farther by half, so it's adding 30 degrees to the angle. Well, that's kind of a lot, so let's go down to a quarter. quarter rotates more slowly. However, the perk of this is you can go down to 3 items and it'll still rotate the exact same speed. That's still really fast, so I'm gonna go down to 125, which is 1/8. So we'll rotate at 1/8, or it'll take 8 frames to get to the next item, no matter how many items you have, even if you have 1, which I will demonstrate right here. So it just spins around like that. On the other hand, if you have 7 items, it'll rotate nice and consistently. Okay, so that is the beginning of how to make an item wheel. Problem is, we haven't implemented using them or changing the player's weapon and making it disappear and all that. Next episode on this, I guess this is a series now, series of tutorials, we will figure out how to implement these items into the player by using events and groups and inventory and all that. So this is going to be basically a full-blown inventory tutorial, and I'm sure many people will be very happy about that. So, hope you enjoyed that. And actually I have one more thing to show you just for a second here, so hold on a second.
Okay, so here we go. We are in the understanding frame. So this is a little extra thing I'm doing to try and help you to actually understand what you're doing with all this code and math and all that, because I figured it's really a lot better to understand what you're doing than to just copy someone else. So in the case of the inventory wheel, we have 360 degrees, as all circles do, and we are positioning the weapons depending on how many there are. In the case of, let's say, for example, 4 weapons, you'd have 360 divided by 4, which would make 1 weapon here, 1 here, and 1 there, and 1 there. Or 1 item, whatever you want to use, because there are 90 degrees in between each item. Now, in the case of, let's say, 6 weapons, it will be 360 divided by 6, which will make a weapon here, there. And so, there you can see kind of how it works and how they're spread about. And if you have 8, then it would have some other degree measurement in there, which for some reason I can't think of right now. Like 45 maybe. I don't know. Either way, I think it is 45 actually. Yeah. So you can kind of see how that works. Now additionally, I was talking earlier about how, you know, you divide the value up and you can set how fast the weapons turn in between there. Well, this is an additional addition, division, and it's this number, which in this case is 60, divided again, and it adds up the angle depending on how much you divide it by. In the case of the tutorial, I put divided or multiplied by 0.125, which is 1/8. But I wanted to show you what happens if you divide it by, say, 1. If you don't divide it at all, then it'll do what it just showed earlier. And I can show you that again. It'll just go boom, and in 1 frame it'll go all the way to the next item, because it is shifting by 60 degrees. If you do it by, let's say, divided or multiplied by 0.5, which is 1/2, it'll do this, boom, boom. Kind of have 1 frame in the middle, and then it'll already be at the next weapon by our next item by the time the other frame rolls around. And if you do it by 1/4, it'll do something like this. And so you can kind of see that these represent the individual frames between when it switches. If you want your weapon wheel to switch almost instantly, you can divide it by a higher number or a lower number, like 1/2 or 1/4, and it'll make it so it'll switch really fast. The more you divide it, the more points there will be in between the degree measurements, these set points of where the weapons will reside, and they will turn slower, which you saw in the tutorial. So I hope that helps, and let's get back to the video.
Alright, did you like that? I hope that cleared things up a little bit. But, yeah, that's pretty much the end of this. You can write in whichever items you want, to whichever slots you want, and that'll instantly appear. I have 2 of the same item. Oops, I have 2 water droplets. That's okay. So, comment if you didn't understand anything, if you are having trouble with these equations. Really, this is the only one that you should have trouble with because it's so huge. But if you're having trouble understanding anything, please let me know, and I will make a good faith effort to motivate myself to reply to you. And yeah, just have a great day, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Goodbye.